Hard Knock Radio, y'all. This is Ibrahim Abdul-Matin, sports correspondent for Hard Knock Radio. This is Champion Sound, and I'm here with the legend, Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who just recently published a book on the shoulders of giants. Mr. Abdul-Jabbar, thank you for being with us today.
It's my pleasure, Ibrahim. Nice to be with you.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Cool. So, who are the giants?
Oh, the giants are, I'm talking about giants in all phases of life, literature, art, music, athletics, political activism, all of anything that you can think of that has been a significant movement within the black community.
And so why did you focus on the Harlem Renaissance specifically?
Well, I focused on Harlem Renaissance because so much of what happened then affected me when I was a kid and growing up. Even though I was born sometime after the Renaissance ended, the echoes of it really affected my life. And I read a lot of the authors that had written at that time, and I came under the influence of people who, if they were not part of it, were affected by it.
And in the sense of your involvement, your personal involvement, are you a musician yourself?
No. Although my dad was a musician. My dad was a jazz musician. He played the trombone. His lifetime ambition was to play in Count Basie's band.
Oh, nice.
He didn't get to do that, but he got to play at places like Minton's, and he played with some of the giants of modern jazz, people like Kenny Dorham, Yusef Lateef, Art Blakey, Dizzy Gillespie, other people of that caliber. And music was such a big item in my home. Both my parents had sung for the Hall Johnson Chorus, and then my dad went on to qualify himself as a trombonist. So
in that sense, you guys sound like a pretty talented family. Were you a poet? Were you a writer?
I was a writer from early on, and I would have been a musician, but the only thing was I wouldn't practice the piano, and my mom wasn't going to make me. So I got to pursue my first love, which actually was baseball. And then as I started to grow and exhibit really the more of the physical talents of a basketball player, basketball took over.
We're talking with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the legend, NBA champion, NCAA champion, multiple times in both. He's recently published a book on the shoulders of giants, and it's My Journey Through the Harlem Renaissance. And if you look at the cover of the book, there's three sort of long panels, and one of them shows a city street, and I'm assuming it's in Queens, and then there's you in a suit, and you look pretty dapper, and then there's you on the right-hand side, a skinny young man playing basketball. What does this say about your evolution?
Well, it just gives an idea of the forces that formed me. That picture of me in my suit actually is taken on Strivers Row in Harlem, and the other picture was taken at a playground in Manhattan.
And what were those days like when that picture was taken of you on the playground?
Oh, that was high school. I was 16 in that picture. You know, it's funny. 16 then. This year I'll be 60. It's amazing the passage of time, how quickly it happens, and next thing you know, you're looking at old age. So
recently there's been a lot of coverage in the NFL about former NFL players that have been, after their playing days, that there are a lot of health problems. What has life been like for you after the game?
Well, I've been very fortunate not to have a whole lot of health problems. I think basketball is pretty benign in that it requires you to be in great cardiovascular condition and do a lot of running, but we don't get hit like football players do. You know, they get hit in the head. I saw one young man, he was 44 years old, and he committed suicide. They looked at his brain, and it was the brain of an 80-year-old man with Alzheimer's. And all of that had to do with the trauma of being hit. I know Muhammad Ali very well, and he has Parkinson's syndrome for the very same reasons. It's really tragic what people will do to sacrifice themselves to pursue their sports.
So there's a general theme, I think, with this book on the shoulders of giants that you just recently published that speaks more to like a communal sensibility. And I think what it's at play a lot in American consciousness is this sort of rugged individualism. How do you respond to that? Because a lot of folks would say, well, he made it. Anybody can do it.
Well, what I try to show by doing my book the way I did was I couldn't have made it if it hadn't been for the people that came before me that understood that they needed to impart some knowledge to the succeeding generation. If my life had not been informed by people like Adam Clayton Powell Jr. or W.E.B. Du Bois, or let's say the essays of people like James Weldon Johnson, I wouldn't understand what to do. Marcus Garvey sacrificed so that we could have an understanding of what was necessary for us to improve our communities. And this has to go from one generation to the next. I think that too many of the present generation are caught up in this whole philosophy of get rich or die trying, and they don't have any moral anchor to inform their ambition and their energy, and they get caught into some very negative corners here by not understanding what went before them and where they need to go.
What is a message that you have in essence for that generation?
Well, just to find out what makes sense. You just getting wealthy is not the only thing that counts. You have to have a plan to build, a plan to construct something, both as an individual, your own life, that of your own personal family, and then of the community at large. All of those things count, and somebody has to be thinking about that before they act.
We're sitting here talking with the legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's recently published a book on the shoulders of giants. This is Hard Knock Radio, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the sports correspondent, and I want to ask you a quick question about, in the sense of your contemporaries, the people that you came up with politically and athletically. Let me rewind you back to 1968. What was your feeling like when you saw them get on the stage at the '68 Olympics with their black fists in the air?
Well, I was supposed to try out for the Olympics, and I passed it up. But I understood what they were trying to do, and I had a lot of respect for what they were trying to say, because they wanted to make a statement that American life is not about harmony. It wasn't about harmony at that point. That was before the passage of the Civil Rights Act, and a lot of the things that Dr. King had agitated for were still yet to be realized. And I was proud that they were able to peacefully but demonstrably show the world that there was still more to be done.
I just want to share one personal thing, if you don't mind. In, I think it was 87, Mr. Abdul-Jabbar, I was 9 years old, and you had a hook shot in the Western Conference Finals, I believe, in the end of one very critical game. And I can still remember where I sat, where my brother was sitting. We're sitting there holding on to each other, like, he's got to make it, he's got to make it, he's got to make it. And honestly, that was one of the reasons I ended up playing sports in college. And but you were one of the main reasons why I ended up going that far. So I wanted to thank you personally for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm honored to have inspired you. I think there's a great example. I was inspired by Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain to see what I could do on the court. And Jackie Robinson also figured in that. So, we don't get there on our own. We stand on the shoulders of the giants who went before us.
So in that spirit, I just want to ask you, who was the audience that when you were writing this book, who were you speaking to?
I'm speaking to America in general, just to let them know about what happened during the Harlem Renaissance, and to let them know about the Harlem Wrens, which is the basketball team, the best basketball team nobody's ever heard of. The very first professional champions of America was an all-black team from Harlem. People don't know about that. Those achievements have just faded with the passage of time. So I wanted people to know about that, and I also wanted young black people to understand how it is that we got to where we are today, so that maybe they can figure out where we need to go from here. It all is in a continuous evolving structure. Things don't happen just on their own, by and of themselves. Things flow. And getting an idea of how and why things are flowing really helps you understand where to go with your next step.
So just to switch gears one last time, the music that you're listening to right now, share with us, please.
Let's see. Just last week I was in New York starting my book tour, and I caught the Charles Tolliver Big Band. They were excellent. I got a CD. Let's see. The most recent CD I got is Cecil McBee, the bassist. His most recent CD.
So you keep it jazzy.
Oh yeah, I'm into jazz. That's it's been the background of my life. You know.
So how about what your interpretation of sort of the jazz and the hip hop relationship? How do you see that?
Well, I see jazz as more or less the root, and hip hop as an offshoot of it. I think the whole hip hop thing really started back in the late '60s with people like the Last Poets, who emphasized poetry with a beat, and that to me seems to be what hip hop is all about. And it has a long tradition, even going further back than that to the beatnik era, where people read poetry to jazz.
So I'm gonna take a stab here and call you a hip hop pioneer, since you were of that generation, and those were your contemporaries, all those graffiti artists, all those taggers, all those guys. Those were your contemporaries. So I just want to throw that. You can throw that in your bio. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, hip hop pioneer. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't know if I'm hip hop. I'm definitely a bebop. I kind of describe myself as a child of bebop.
There we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a distinct pleasure in this particular moment in time, in this particular year, the things that are happening. The world is at a crossroads, and we have the legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who recently published On the Shoulders of Giants. It's published on Simon & Schuster. You should definitely go out and check it out. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share with our audience?
Just want to say hi to everybody up in the Bay Area. It'd be nice to get back up there.
So, and in terms of your role as a spokesperson and a legend, are you ever going to run for office, Mr. Abdul-Jabbar?
No, I'm not going to run for office. I don't have any plans for that. I'm going to leave that to the pros. I'll support the right people when I see them out there and that they need help.
That's perfect. We love it. Well, we really, 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 truly appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul-Jabbar.
My pleasure. Have a good one.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Once again, y'all, this has been Ibrahim Abdul-Matin. I work with the Movement Strategy Center in Oakland, and I'm also the sports correspondent for Hard Knock Radio, Champion Sound. Thank you for listening.